In the United States, New York City's Times Square is inundated by flood water.
Authorities estimate 300,000 commuters affected by the floods. More details on this later in the news. Good evening, I am Gianna Llanes.
I am Nina Richie Alagao-Flores. This is Mata ng Agila International. Now for the headlines. Marcos administration greenlights DTI's 3-year food logistics plan. The United Kingdom is seeking more opportunities to deepen security ties with the Philippines. South Korea unveils its financial aid for Ukraine by the year 2024. Gabon military officers claim to have seized power on national television. And authorities in Florida evacuate residents as Hurricane Idalia approaches. The Bureau of the Treasury, or BTR, announces the issuance of the implementing rules and regulations for the Maharlika Investment Fund, or IMF, or MIF, on the 28th of August, with the regulations set to come into effect on the 12th of September. Finance Secretary Benjamin Jokno underscores the significance of the MIF as a pivotal financing mechanism designed to alleviate the strain on local funds and diminish reliance on official development assistance. Agencies responsible for delivering social security and public health insurance services are prohibited from making investments in the MIF. Jokno further informs that the process of selecting officers, including the president and CEO, to lead the fund is presently underway.
The Bureau of Internal Revenue, or BIR, has announced that their collection for the month of July has exceeded expectations, amassing a total of 273.134 billion pesos net of tax refunds. This achievement represents an impressive 5.09% increase, or an additional 13.224 billion pesos above the targeted amount. Furthermore, it reflects a substantial 38.37% rise compared to collections in the same period from the previous year, amounting to 75.744 billion pesos. In line with their responsibilities, the BIR has been entrusted with the task of collecting 2.639 trillion pesos throughout this year. BIR Commissioner Romeo Lamagui Jr. is optimistic about meeting this ambitious target. He points to the heightened efforts in tax enforcement activities and a stringent crackdown against counterfeit receipts as key factors contributing to this confidence.
The Marcos administration has given the green light to the 3-year Food Logistics Action Agenda put forth by the Department of Trade and Industry, or DTI. Christina Aguirre tells us more.
President Ferdinand Marcos Jr. granted approval to the proposal in a sectoral meeting where DTI Secretary Alfredo Pascual and Communications Secretary Cheloy Garafil were present. Garafil elaborates on the plan's core objectives, which revolve around 6 pivotal strategies. These strategies encompass the reduction of transportation expenses, substantial investments in logistics infrastructure, such as storage facilities, and stringent measures against activities like hoarding and smuggling, among others. She underscores the potential for a significant shortening of the supply chain connecting producers and consumers upon successful implementation of the action plan. Christina Aguirre for Mata ng Agila International. Trusted, connected, on point.
PAGASA spots the eye of Super Typhoon Saula at 185 kilometers west of Itbayat, Batanes as of 5 p.m. today. Saula is moving northwest at 15 kilometers per hour with maximum sustained winds of 195 kilometers per hour near the center, with gustiness of up to 240 kilometers per hour. The State Weather Bureau has raised storm wind signal number 1 in the following areas: Batanes, Babuyan Islands, Ilocos Norte, north portion of Apayao, and northwestern portion of Cagayan. Meanwhile, PAGASA notes that southwest monsoon enhanced by Saula will bring occasional rains on western portions of Luzon and Visayas over the next 3 days. The weather agency forecasts that Saula may maintain its strength as it approaches the northwestern boundary of the Philippine Area of Responsibility, or PAR. Saula may exit the country by tomorrow. PAGASA is also monitoring severe tropical storm Haikui outside of the country's monitoring area. Haikui is located 1,465 kilometers east of extreme northern Luzon.
Department of Social Development or Welfare and Development Chief Rex Gatchalian orders the delivery of 55,000 family food packs or FFPs to Western Visayas. This is due to widespread flooding in the region caused by the southwest monsoon enhanced by Super Typhoon Saula. The DSWD chief is committed to deliver the relief items in the region by August 31st. According to the DSWD Field Office Region 6, 15,000 FFPs will be dropped in the regional warehouse in Iloilo, 11,500 in Baguio City, 10,000 in regional warehouse in Bacolod City, 6,500 in San Jose Antique, and 3 Barbaza. DSWD notes that the food packs stored in the regional warehouse will be transported to the different local government units in Western Visayas, which were severely affected by floods.
The Office of Civil Defense, or OCD, is actively implementing plans for the upcoming El Niño phenomenon. OCD Undersecretary Ariel Nepomuceno says they are also currently in the process of further devising strategies to minimize the impact of this phenomenon on vulnerable agricultural regions. These strategies encompass comprehensive approaches to water management, ensuring food security, and maintaining energy stability across the nation. These plans align with proposals put forth by various other governmental bodies, including the Departments of Agriculture and Health, among others. Recent reports from the Philippine Atmospheric, Geophysical, and Astronomical Services Administration indicate the presence of a moderate El Niño in the tropical Pacific. The agency also expects a further strengthening of this phenomenon in the coming months.
The United Kingdom sees many opportunities for its bilateral ties with the Philippines as its top diplomat visits Malacanang. JD Mahinay for the details.
President Ferdinand Marcos Jr. welcomes British Foreign Minister James Cleverly as the two discuss wide-ranging topics. This includes the prospect of establishing tighter maritime cooperation between the Philippines and the United Kingdom, amid heightened tensions between Manila and Beijing in the West Philippine Sea. The encounter comes after Cleverly meeting Foreign Affairs Chief Enrique Manalo and inked a joint statement of intent to build a convention agreement seeking to establish on the exchanges in various areas since 2021. According to Cleverly, the UK is building cooperation with the Philippines and like-minded nations across the region to safeguard security as well as prosperity in the Indo-Pacific. He adds that UK was also seeking to broaden its maritime cooperation with the Philippines in such areas as maritime law and advancing environmental protection. Data shows that the bilateral trade between the Philippines and the UK lies at around 147.4 billion pesos annually in goods and services. JD Mahinay reporting for Mata ng Agila International. Trusted, connected, on point.
A delegation from Iraq, headed by Iraq's Ministry of Health, is scheduled for a significant bilateral meeting with the Philippines. This marks the first such meeting since March 2013. The two nations will convene for the 8th Iraq-Philippines Joint Committee meeting, discussing potential collaboration across various sectors, including health, energy, and trade, among others. Moreover, Iraq is keen on enhancing the relationship between businesses and governmental entities in both countries, reflecting a broader ambition to strengthen ties on multiple fronts. Coming up, India files a formal complaint over China's new standard map. A Ukrainian drone attack damages key Russian assets. And military officials in Gabon have taken over the government. Stay tuned, Mata ng Agila International will return for more global news.
See you, Monday, first screening.
Magandang balita dahil aarangkada na sa mga sinehan sa buong bansa ngayong August 30 ang kauna-unahang pelikula ng Net25 Films. Ang pelikula na hindi lamang magpapakilig at magpapaiyak sa buong pamilya pero mag-iiwan din ito ng aral para mas lalo pa nating akapin at gabayan ang ating mga magulang, lolo at lola. Hitik din ito sa mga impormasyon kaugnay sa karapatan ng ating mga senior citizen. Ang Monday first screening, pinagbibidahan ng viral couple natin ngayon na Rick Jean, sina Ricky Davao at Gina Alhar. August 30 na...
Welcome back to Mata ng Agila International. British Foreign Chief James Cleverly meets with Chinese Vice President Han Zheng in Beijing. This marks the first visit to Beijing by a United Kingdom Foreign Secretary in 5 years. During the meeting, the top officials reaffirmed the two nations' bilateral relations. Meanwhile, Han hopes that China-UK relations will make new advances via practical cooperation. Cleverly's visit comes as an attempt to restore political dialogue and trade between the two nations.
The visit that I conduct today is the first for a number of years, and sadly, face-to-face diplomacy was disrupted right across the world because of the coronavirus pandemic. But as we discussed when we were in London, it is important that countries like ours meet and speak face-to-face on regular occasions to enhance understanding, to avoid misunderstanding, and to address the challenges and differences in opinion that all countries have in bilateral relations, but also to take advantage of our shared endeavours to address the issues that affect the wider world and our respective peoples.
India has lodged a strong protest against China's new map, claiming new territories over their shared border, escalating tensions during a 3-year military standoff between the two nations. The timing of the protest is key as Chinese President Xi Jinping is expected to attend the G20 summit. India has formally lodged an objection through diplomatic channels with the Chinese government's side on the so-called 2023 Standard Map of China. China published a map that renames 11 places in India's formal territory as being within Jiangnan province or southern Tibet in Chinese. Aksai Chin, a plateau in the western Himalayas, is claimed by India but controlled by China. India External Affairs Minister Jay Shankar Subramanyam also dismissed China's claim in a television interview. China recently refused to put visas in the passports of officials from Arunachal Pradesh state in India's northeast, using a stapled-in certificate instead. It also refuses to recognize India's sovereignty over its part of Kashmir and declined to send a delegation to the last G20 meeting that took place within the contested area. Last week, Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi informally spoke to China's President Xi on the sidelines of the BRICS summit in Johannesburg, where Modi highlighted New Delhi's concerns about their unresolved border issues.
The graft conviction case against former Pakistani Prime Minister Imran Khan has been suspended and granted bail by an appeals court.
Suspension of sentences is when the court considers the judgment is not sustainable, there are illegalities committed during the trial, there are rights violated of the accused person. In those cases, the judgment could be suspended. Today, the judgment was suspended by 2 judges of the High Court, and soon, inshallah ta'ala, Imran Khan would be out of jail in this case.
However, despite the suspension, Khan remains in custody due to a higher court decision to overturn the initial ruling. Khan's legal team has disclosed that a confidential case has been initiated, accusing the former prime minister of leaking classified state documents. They contend that this development is an attempt to manipulate the course of justice. As a result, Khan is expected to face proceedings before a special court in connection with this new indictment.
Seoul unveils its financial aid for Ukraine by next year. Kyiv will receive 520 billion won or $394 million by 2024. The aid packages include 130 billion won for reconstruction, 260 billion won in humanitarian aid, and 130 billion won via international organizations. This is under South Korea's budget for the fiscal year 2024. Yesterday, President Yoon Suk-yeol announced an increase in South Korea's official development assistance for strategic areas, including the Asia-Pacific and Africa. According to Seoul's Ministry of Economy and Finance, the increase in overseas assistance is part of an effort to help South Korean firm branch abroad and secure national interests.
Cambodia's newly elected Prime Minister Hun Manet met with 18,000 workers for the first time since his ascension to the position. The premier reassured them with a new policy to improve their living standards, including enhancing cafeteria standards and factory transportation services. Manet stressed that only when food or factory food courts are improved, the health of workers can improve, and that would result in higher productivity. Addressing the issue of garment workers' transportation, he said studies must be conducted to help form policies that can ensure the safety of workers by 2027. The transportation of garment workers in Cambodia has been a major concern of worker safety and welfare for some time now. Workers are often seen crammed beyond the alleged permitted capacity of factory vehicles, with road accidents involving these vehicles resulting in high fatalities and injuries. Manet emphasized that it was important to have a clear action plan for the successful implementation of policies.
The Pacific Information Communication Technology, or ICT, ministers convene in Papua New Guinea to forge collaboration on digital transformation. Eko Orteleza Quinola has that story.
Papua New Guinea hosts the Pacific ICT Ministerial Dialogue under the theme Smart Pacific, One Voice, creating a digital future together for the Pacific. Delegates from Australia, Fiji, Kiribati, New Caledonia, New Zealand, Niue, Palau, Samoa, Solomon Islands, Tonga, and Vanuatu joined Papua New Guinea's Minister for ICT, Timothy Masiu, to discuss strategic partnerships pivotal in creating opportunities and amplifying collective voice on the global stage.
As a responsible minister, I don't want to just push these things because people want it. No, we have to bring in things that which can protect our people as well.
ICT connects people when we are in isolation. Therefore, this declaration will pave a way forward for us to foster development as well as develop our economies in the Pacific.
The dialogue aims to address common challenges in leveraging the transformative power of digital technology. The goal of these nations is to guarantee that the digital transformation they will embark upon genuinely encompasses and enriches lives of all citizens and their communities. Prime Minister James Marape underscores the country's commitment to nurture a digital economy that transcends geographical confines and bridges disparities in digital access.
Without ICT, the world of commerce and trade would not have grown much faster. In the last 10 years, it has grown. Global GDP has multiplied as a result of ICT that drives the economy of the world today.
The dialogue concludes with the signing of the Declaration on Digital Transformation of the Pacific and a state dinner hosted by the capital city governor, Boris Sparko. This dialogue creates an imperative atmosphere that no one will be left behind in the digital world. From Port Moresby, Papua New Guinea, Eko Hortaleza Quinola, Mata ng Agila International, trusted, connected, on point.
Ukraine is ramping up their attacks as reports emerge of an intensified series of attacks that were successfully repelled by Russia. In the Russian city of Pskov, a drone strike inflicted damage upon 4 military transport planes. While 2 of the planes did catch fire, the Russian Defense Forces managed to repel the assault. Regional Governor Mikhail Vedernikov, who was present at the scene, has relayed initial information indicating that there were no casualties. Russia's military intercepted and downed 3 Ukrainian drones over the southern region of Bryansk and another over the central region of Oryol. They also destroyed 4 Ukrainian boats carrying about 50 soldiers in an operation conducted in the Black Sea.
Sudanese military leader General Abdel Fattah al-Burhan arrives in Egypt, his first overseas trip since the onset of the conflict in Sudan. Al-Burhan meets with Egyptian President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi, who offers to mediate in the ongoing conflict between Al-Burhan's regular army and the paramilitary Rapid Support Forces, or RSF. In a recent statement, Burhan declared that he was determined to defeat the RSF, expressing his unwillingness to strike any deals with them. Both the regular army and the RSF have faced accusations of fighting within civilian areas and deploying heavy weaponry indiscriminately. This has led to numerous civilian casualties in major cities, with both sides denying allegations and instead blaming each other for targeting non-combatants.
A group of Gabonese military officers have seized control of the government, leading to the dissolution of the Senate and Constitutional Court. Their actions come in response to alleged electoral irregularities, asserting that the recent elections were fraudulent.
Au nom du peuple gabonais et garant de la protection des institutions, avons décidé de défendre la paix en mettant fin au régime en place. À cet effet, les élections générales du 26 août 2023 ainsi que les résultats tronqués sont annulés. Les frontières sont fermées jusqu'à nouvel ordre. Toutes les institutions de la République sont dissoutes.
This move followed closely on the heels of the declaration of President Ali Bongo's victory in the general election, securing his 3rd term in office. The military leaders argue that the government has persistently ignored the will of the Gabonese populace over the years. Crowds of people can be seen cheering as soldiers patrol the streets, suggesting a level of public support for the coup. Measures were swiftly enacted after the announcement, including the interruption of internet services, the imposition of a curfew, and a ban on Western media coverage. Thousands of supporters of President Xiomara Castro marched in the capital to demand that the opposition-dominated Congress appoint an attorney general and deputy to fight corruption and drug trafficking, 2 issues that have been plaguing the country for years. Castro delivered a speech demanding that the National Congress elect the public authorities on the date mandated by the Constitution.
Les he convocado oficialmente como jefa de Estado, porque ustedes son los titulares del poder que me eligió, porque en ustedes reside el poder de la soberanía popular.
The current holders of the position, Oscar Chinchilla and Daniel Cibrian, end their 7-year terms on August 31, but have been accused of allowing corrupt practices to persist during the terms of the right-wing National Party, Juan Orlando Hernandez, who is currently imprisoned in the United States for drug trafficking. Prosecutors are chosen from among 5 self-nominated candidates and selected by an independent nominating board. The pro-government Libertad y Refundación Party says that it is seeking the appointment of prosecutors to investigate acts of corruption and drug trafficking from previous governments, but it only has 49 votes out of the 87 required in the chamber of 128 deputies. Many of the opposition legislators who have remained since the Hernandez administration, especially from the Partido Nacional, have 43 seats while the Partido Liberal has 22. Both parties have been accused of benefiting from acts of corruption through unfair legislature.
Debemos de mantenernos unidos, organizados, movilizados, en vanguardia, en resistencia, para que en Honduras no vuelvan más los golpes de Estado, ni narcodictadores, ni saqueo.
A former official of a UN anti-mafia commission has been arrested by the Guatemalan police. She joins about 30 former justice operators who investigated cases of corruption and are now detained or exiled. These cases have been condemned by the United States. Elise Danielle has the details.
The Guatemalan prosecutor's office says the arrest of lawyer Claudia Gonzalez was coordinated. It says Gonzalez allegedly initiated an investigation without authorization in 2017 against a magistrate of the judiciary. That magistrate has been accused of pressuring a judge to favor a son implicated in a corruption case. Upon arriving at the courthouse, 56-year-old Gonzalez described her detention as criminalization, harassment, and unnecessary criminal prosecution by the public ministry. After Gonzalez's capture, Brian Nichols of the U.S. Diplomacy for Latin America says on X they condemn the flagrant manipulation of the justice system. Nichols says the unacceptable attack by the prosecutor's office against defenders of justice undermines democracy and the rule of law in Guatemala. Elise Danielle for Matana Agila International, trusted, connected, on point.
Up next, Hurricane Idalia intensifies to major Category 4 storm. A burst water main in New York floods Times Square. And the global malware network Quackbot has been shut down. Matanang Agila International will be back after a short break.
This portion is brought to you by Robic Builders.
Magandang balita dahil aarangkada na sa mga sinehan sa buong bansa ngayong August 30 ang kauna-unahang pelikula ng Net25 Films. Ang pelikula na hindi lamang magpapakilig at magpapaiyak sa buong pamilya pero mag-iiwan din ito ng aral para mas lalo pa nating akapin at gabayan ang ating mga magulang, lolo at lola. Hitik din ito sa mga impormasyon kaugnay sa karapatan ng ating mga senior citizen. Ang Monday first screening, pinagbibidahan ng viral couple natin ngayon na Rick Jean, sina Ricky Davao at Gina Alhar. August 30 na po yan sa mahigit sa 100 sinihan sa buong bansa. Hatid sa inyo ng dekalidad na gumawa ng totoong pelikulang Pinoy, ang Net25 Films.
Officials in Hawaii are encouraging tourists to visit Maui to help trigger an economic surge on the island in the wake of deadly wildfires in the western region of Lahaina. While West Maui may be off limits as rehabilitation efforts are underway, the rest of the island remains safe. The governor and the Hawaii Tourism Authority are encouraging tourists to visit all other areas of Maui to help support the local economy. With 70% of the earnings of Maui being generated by tourism industry, people believe that an influx of tourists could really kickstart the relief efforts for the island. Blue Hawaiian helicopters have now resumed tourism flights in Maui as the island reopens. For nearly 2 weeks, Blue Hawaiian had paused tourism operations as it focused on disaster relief efforts in Lahaina. Hawaii's other islands, such as Kauai, Oahu, Molokai, and Lanai, have not been affected by the areas. So much of Maui's natural resources still have much to offer. Some small business owners are open to a measured return of tourism to the island. The majority of the businesses, however, have gone back in business with more responsible measures. Hawaii still has to turn to tourism, but in the form of responsible tourism, which encourages the values of ohana, kokua, and aloha, meaning family, community, and compassion for others.
A free online course on how to use data to end violence against women has been launched by the World Health Organization and the United Nations. This online course is designed for people working in government and those closely supporting the government. Rosel Feria has the story.
Did you know that 1 in 3, yes, 1 in 3 women around the world experience physical and/or sexual violence in their lifetime? This mostly at the hands of an intimate partner. WHO says violence against women is a global concern affecting public health, gender equality, and human rights, prevalent in every country and culture around the world. The health agency underscores the critical role of policymakers in both prevention and response, thus launching this new and free online course aimed at equipping public servants and policymakers in gaining knowledge about methodologies and the vital role of data in addressing violence against women. The 4-part course covers identification and significance of violence against women data, types of data, collection methods, and considerations for managing and reporting, underreported and under-researched knowledge gaps related to data capturing diverse women's experiences of violence, and methodological challenges and innovations regarding collecting data. The online course is a joint initiative of the WHO-UN Women Joint Program on Violence Against Women Data and Measurement, Apolitical, and the UN Special Program of Research, Development, and Research Training in Human Reproduction. In Washington, D.C., Rosel Feria for Mata ng Agila International, trusted, connected, on point.
The everyday environment contributes to hearing loss, and some groups of people are more predisposed to experiencing excessive noise levels, which may increase the risk of damaged hearing. Stephanie Mayo has the story.
Nearly 50 million Americans, or 1 of 3, suffer some form of hearing loss. But new study finds that it's no longer just loud music causing the damage, but also everyday environment. The Apple Hearing Study, or AHS, revealed in May that excessive sounds over 70 decibels, including power tools and construction noise, contribute to noise exposures that may cause health issues. The study claims that people with repeated daily average noise exposures over 70 decibels are likely to experience hearing issues, heart problems, and sleep disturbances, and even mental health problems. Meanwhile, the Apple Watch has a built-in feature for detecting environmental sound levels that can help a user monitor their exposure. The AHS released data from 130,000 Apple Watch users collected between November 2019 and December 2022, which showed that specific age groups and races face greater exposure to high levels of environmental noise, with 44% of residents in Puerto Rico experiencing noise above 70 decibels, the highest proportion in the study. Stephanie Mayo for Mata ng Agila International, trusted, connected, on point.
In the U.S., residents along Florida's west coast are under mass evacuation orders and flood alerts as authorities warn that Idalia has strengthened into a Category 4 storm. Keith Daphne Franco has more.
Idalia, the storm that had become a Category 1 hurricane overnight, was journeying Tuesday morning hundreds of miles off Florida's southwest. It was bringing tropical storm conditions to western Cuba. The NHC said warm Gulf waters near 31 degrees Celsius or 88 degrees Fahrenheit are expected to turbocharge Idalia into extremely dangerous major hurricane before landfall on Wednesday. The NHC says Category 3 hurricanes and those higher cause devastating and catastrophic damage. Florida Governor Ron DeSantis urged those in the evacuation areas along the Gulf Coast to go immediately. He appealed to coastal residents in the 23 counties under evacuation orders so far to get to shelters or hotels that were out of the danger zones. He warned that this is going to be a major hurricane, likely a Category 3. Idalia is expected to make an impact farther north along the coast, an area DeSantis said hasn't had a major hurricane in a long time. U.S. President Joe Biden approved an emergency declaration for the state. Biden promised it would have his full support. The Tampa International Airport has closed for the storm. The U.S. Air Force Base ordered a mandatory evacuation of non-mission essential individuals and dependents. Georgia and South Carolina are also under storm watches, as the system is expected to cross northeast over Florida before exiting into the Atlantic. In Pensacola, Florida, Keith Daphne Franco for Matanang Agila International. Trusted, connected, on point.
A 127-year-old water main in New York City's Times Square burst early Tuesday morning, sending an estimated 1.8 million gallons of water flooding into the subway. The Metropolitan Transportation Authority, or MTA, released footage of water cascading into Times Square's 42nd Street station at around 3 a.m. An estimated 300,000 people had their morning commute affected by subsequent disruptions to the 1, 2, and 3 lines. The ruptured pipeline also flooded Midtown streets with several inches of water. Traffic was interrupted and the water supply to the area was cut off, while hundreds of MTA workers and engineers pumped and cleaned up the resulting mess. All was back to normal by midday, as crews are still investigating what could have caused the break.
Train service between France and Italy has been disrupted by a rockslide Sunday in the French Alps. Climate change is being blamed. David Oria tells us more.
You can see the slide here on the scene. An estimated 700 cubic meters of rock is tumbling down this hillside. The boulders slammed into a protective barrier along a major highway. A heat wave followed by heavy rain triggered the slide. Geologists are going to look at the site to evaluate the damage and determine whether there is a risk of more rock slides. Train service between France and Italy is being suspended until Thursday at the earliest. Truck traffic is being detoured as well. David Oria for Matanang Agila International. Trusted, connected, on point.
At the Mexico-U.S. border, migrants wade into the Rio Grande River from the Mexican shore. They do this to avoid the large orange buoys used as floating barriers placed by Texas to block their passage. Rio Grande is the fourth longest river in northern America. Ralph Coronel reports.
What you see here are migrants, some of them children, crossing a wire fence to get into U.S. soil. Some, before crossing to Eagle Pass in South Texas, walk through water in the Rio Grande River to stay away from the orange buoys blocking their passage. A migrant from Ecuador says traveling with 2 children in the forest took him almost 5 days. He says passing through the jungle is horrible. A migrant from Venezuela says her travel through Mexico was torture. Kayaking guide on the Rio Grande, Jesse Fuentes, describes how dangerous the buoys work.
The buoys are bad because they're designed to rotate. And in between each buoy, there's a serrated blade. A serrated blade, like something that you have on a circular saw. It's there. So if you try to climb over it, you're gonna slip off and fall on the serrated blade and it's gonna cut you. Right now I am shut down. I can't. I won't go into the river because nobody wants to get in there because of all this. You know, I can't show them how beautiful our site is. Does that look beautiful to you? It's a war zone. He made the governor of Texas put up a nice little stage area here to make it look like a war zone. You know, but you look on the other side, it looks beautiful. And that's how that side used to look over here. Natural, beautiful.
Landowner Magali Urbina, although not a fan of open borders, says migrants must be treated as human beings.
My husband and I do not believe in open borders, but we also don't believe that we should treat people inhumanely.
Alagao-Flores of Eagle Pass Border Coalition shares the same sentiment.
This doesn't belong here. You know, there's like animals, there's wildlife, there's river, and like there's another city. We can see each other normally. It's so close that you can literally like talk to each other. And just this isn't what our community is, and this isn't how we treat people either. I mean, it's a really sad thing to see migrants being herded like cattle, you know.
State Governor Greg Abbott has deployed the military in an effort to contain the influx of migrants. Ralph Cornell from Atanang Agila International, trusted, connected, on point.
In the U.S., justice officials say they have shut down a notorious global cyber network called QuackBot. The malware network was used by criminals to extort tens of millions of dollars from thousands of businesses around the world. Kimi Oria tells us more.
Known as a botnet, 15-year-old malware network QuackBot gained backdoor access to private computers and IT systems across the globe. The operators would then rent that access to criminal groups to undertake their own attacks. They typically seize or freeze data from a target's systems and demand ransoms to free it up, sometimes in the millions of dollars. U.S. Attorney Martin Estrada says QuackBot was one of the most notorious and pernicious botnets in the world. Estrada says the investigation showed QuackBot had infected more than 700,000 victim computers. These were then controlled to an extent by the botnet's administrators. Estrada says it made QuackBot the botnet of choice for cyber gangs throughout the world. Just in the past 18 months, Estrada says victims have incurred $58 million in losses. In an operation dubbed Duck Hunt, authorities seized 52 servers supporting QuackBot operations and $8.6 million in cryptocurrencies.
Also, very importantly, through this operation, we've recovered from the QuackBot criminal organization over 6.5 million credentials, victim credentials. Now, these victim credentials are things such as email logins and passwords, very sensitive information that these victims may have no idea were stolen from them. We're working to notify those victims that that information has been stolen.
The said operation involved law enforcement in France, Germany, Netherlands, Romania, and Latvia. Estrada declines to identify who is behind the QuackBot network or say if any arrests have been made. Investigation is still ongoing. Kimi Oria from Atanang Agila International, trusted, connected, on point.
With prompting protests from the extra financial burden, London's ultra-low emission zone, or ULEZ, has expanded on Tuesday to become the largest pollution charging scheme in the world. The city's mayor, Sadiq Khan, is pressing ahead with the politically charged extension across Greater London. The mayor is adamant the ULEZ expansion will help improve London's toxic air pollution in outlying areas, which he notes causes thousands of deaths and life-changing illnesses per year. However, he has faced fierce backlash from many since unveiling the plans last year, with critics arguing the scheme is more concerned with raising revenue. The move also blamed for costing Khan's main opposition Labour Party victory in a by-election last month. London's ULEZ mirrors similar low-emission zones to improve air quality in more than 200 cities in 10 countries across Europe. First introduced in Inner London in 2019, it requires drivers of the most polluting vehicles to pay £12.50 or $16 on days they are on the road. That has infuriated opponents who argued Outer London is not well served enough by public transport and that it is the wrong time to put extra costs on drivers. Coming right up, girls run the world as Taylor Swift and Beyonce bump up the economy. Monday first screening is #1 in cinemas on its first day. And the cast of Breaking Bad reunites on the picket line. Catch more news in business, sports, and entertainment when we return.
I love the movie, very entertaining, and true to life, I hope it gets enough audience to see it, to see also the life of a senior citizen.
Mula po nag-umpisa yung pelikula, hindi na po ako sumandal sa aking upuan. Because the movie really tugs at your heart and lifts up your spirit. It's something that we need in this day and age.
Wala na oh. Kanina iyak ako ng iyak Maiibigan ng lahat at matatouch kayong mabuti sa ganda ng pelikula at galing ng mga artista na nagsiganap sa pelikulang ito.
Super relate ako. Nakita ko ang sarili ko kay Lydia. Salamat sa Net25. Bobby is such a good character. Hinahanap namin si Bobby namin sa buhay namin.
It's a type of movie na wala ka nang hahanapin pa. I like to encourage all of you, hindi lamang yung mga senior citizen at elderly, kundi pati yung mga kabataan, panoorin natin ang Monday first screening.
Taylor Swift, Beyonce, and Barbenheimer are projected to boost gross domestic product or GDP by $8.5 billion this year. The U.S. economy expects to increase the GDP in the third quarter from the concert tours and movies attributed to entertainment industry. The two top musicians' concert tours may add about $5.4 billion to the country's GDP for this quarter alone, while hit movies Barbie and Oppenheimer are predicted to bring about $3.1 billion from consumer expenses and global ticket sales. Economists Anna Wong and Eliza Winger states that this would add 0.5 percentage points to the national output between the months of June and September. Meanwhile, Swift's concert attendees helped to increase hotel revenues, while anti-hero track purchases amounting to $55 million with bonuses to staff in total. Economists said that this entertainment boost for the economy may end sooner than expected, as Beyonce and Taylor Swift have not announced any concert plans for the last quarter of the year.
As Carlos Alcaraz is back at the clay court, find out the winners in the second day of the U.S. Open. Vin Pascua has the score.
Time for some tennis action. In the women's singles, Belgian qualifier Greet Minen defeated American wildcard Venus Williams in 2 sets to reach the second round of the U.S. Open. Playing in her 100th U.S. Open match, Williams was unable to convert the 6 break points she generated, with Minen out-hitting her 24 winners to 10. while also making 5 fewer errors. Minen will play American qualifier Sasha Vickery next. American Madison Keys beat Dutch woman Arantxa Rus in 2 sets, 6-2 and 6-4 to move into the second round. Keys is now 37-5 in her first round matches at majors and moves to 27-11 all-time at the US Open. The 17th-ranked Keys will face Belgian Janina Wickmeyer in the next round. Wimbledon champion Marketa Vondrousova beat qualifier Na Lei Han of South Korea in 2 sets to reach the second round of the US Open. Vondrousova connected on 27 winners in the match and committed only 10 unforced errors. The Czech Vondrousova will face Italian Martina Trevisan next. Tunisian On Jabeur moved into the second round of the US Open by defeating Colombian Camila Osorio in 2 sets, 7-5 and 7-6. With the gritty triumph, Jabeur posted her 50th Grand Slam singles victory. The 5th-ranked Jabeur will face Linda Noskova of Czech Republic in the next round. And now over to the men's singles. Andy Murray has written another historic chapter into his career by beating Frenchman Corentin Moutet in 3 sets at the US Open to earn his 200th Grand Slam victory. Murray is the only 8th man in the Open era to achieve such a feat, joining Jimmy Connors, Andre Agassi, Pete Sampras, and coach Ivan Lendl. The former world number 1 moves into the second round, where he will face Grigor Dimitrov of Bulgaria. Russian Andrei Rublev beat Frenchman Arthur Cazaux in 3 sets, 6-4, 7-6, and 6-1 to reach the second round. Rublev entered the US Open on a 3-match losing streak after going 0-2 across Toronto and Cincinnati. However, Rublev stamped the bleed and will face another Frenchman in Gael Monfils next. Russian Daniil Medvedev defeated Hungarian Attila Balázs in 3 sets to move into the second round of the US Open. Ruthless Medvedev hammered 41 winners against just 13 unforced errors and never faced a breakpoint against Balázs. Medvedev will face Christopher O'Connell of Australia in the next round. And the defending champion Carlos Alcaraz has reached the second round of the US Open when German Dominic Koepfer retired. Alcaraz was ahead 6-2 and 3-2 when Koepfer withdrew due to an ankle injury he sustained during the first set of the match. While it's not how Alcaraz will have wanted to progress, the Spaniard will take the quick progression to the second round, where he will play South African Lloyd Harris next. Reporting for Sports, Vin Pascua for Mata ng Agila International. Trusted, connected, on point.
Monday first screening from Net25 Films is now showing. Despite the bad weather, the enthusiasm of moviegoers remained unswayed on the opening day of the film screening as it topped the ticket sales in cinemas on its first day. What's particularly surprising is that this movie resonated with Gen Z, even though the film falls into the genre of a romantic comedy for seniors. The younger audience found themselves brimming with excitement, laughter, and a sense of inspiration as they experienced this quintessentially Pinoy romantic comedy, featuring the talents of Gina Alahar and Ricky Davao. Whether you're a content creator or a regular movie enthusiast, the allure of Monday first screening has a universal impact. It manages to captivate the hearts of individuals from diverse walks of life. So what are you waiting for? Immerse yourself in a heartwarming love story that promises to evoke feelings of swooning romance and offers a much-needed reprieve from the pressures of daily life. Make your way to the cinema near you as Monday first screening is currently gracing the screens across more than 100 theaters nationwide. The cast of Breaking Bad has come together to call upon Hollywood studios to resume negotiations with movie and television actors on strike. Elijah Villanueva has the scoop.
Bryan Cranston, along with fellow cast members of the hit series Breaking Bad, pleaded with the Alliance of Motion Picture and Television Producers, or AMPTP, to resume negotiations with Screen Actors on strike.
I wanted to get and see my old friends, the creative teams from Better Call Saul and Breaking Bad. We're a family, and we wanted to express our support for our larger family of brothers and sisters within the WGA and the Screen Actors Guild, and that's why we're out here.
Standing outside the Sony Pictures studios on Tuesday, the show's stars, led by Cranston, Aaron Paul, and Jesse Plemons, made an effort to stir up the picket lines 1 month into the SAG-AFTRA and Writers Guild of America, or WGA, strike. Cranston said they chose Sony as the venue for the reunion because it is the studio behind Breaking Bad and its spin-off projects like the AMC prequel series Better Call Saul and the Netflix film El Camino.
If we don't clarify what these new rules are, what this new contract will be, it could mean the end of the Writers Guild. It could mean the end of the Screen Actors Guild. And we just can't let that happen.
Meanwhile, Paul said that he's not getting shares from Netflix on Breaking Bad and that now, in his words, it's time to pony up. Both the SAG-AFTRA and the WGA are seeking to address issues with streaming services which have changed all aspects of production and pay in the industry.
You know, we're in this together, obviously, and you know, Sony, we're walking around Sony right now, who employed me for many years, multiple times, but on Breaking Bad and Better Call Saul. So it's nice that our families have joined forces in this together, and yeah, we're fighting the good fight together.
Elijah Villanueva for Mata ng Agila International. Trusted, connected, on point.
And to help you get through the remaining half of the week, here's a quote from Arnold Schwarzenegger, actor, filmmaker, and former professional bodybuilder. Strength does not come from winning. Your struggles develop your strengths. When you go through hardships and decide not to surrender, that is strength.
It's a tough pill to swallow because we all love to win, but I truly believe that we learn the most lessons when we lose.
And many points in our lives that we are bound to fall, but it's really the getting up that really matters.
And we're gonna win in the end.
We are.
And that's a wrap for tonight's news. Catch the latest updates on our social media channels. I am Gianna Llanes.
I am Nina Richie Alagao-Flores. This is Mata ng Agila International. Trusted, connected, on point.